Hi, everyone. I am Alena with Celebrate Every Step, and I have my LSW, clinical hypnotherapy, and specialize in past life regression and hypnotic healing. And I am here today with Katie Kelly from Clarity with Katie. And Katie is a psychic medium, and also, she has all these other cool certifications that we'll get into, but Reiki time master times three. She also does teaching with that. She is an intuitive coach and has recently added the Moon Mother certification, which I'm so excited to talk about. Breathwork facilitator, sound healer, and astrologer, all along with being running a collective and having 4 kids. So, yay. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And hearing you say that too, I've recently decided that I'm so sick of all the labels and
I
I
know.
need to find like just one. I'm just like Katie.
I
I
know.
don't want to
Well,
like identify with all the things anymore.
yeah. And, and that's an interesting thing too, because like with this, I'm introducing myself and it's like, well, I could list a whole bunch of things, but
Yeah,
ultimately, I'm just Elena. And so, like, past life regression in my sessions is different than past life regression in somebody else's session. My way of
totally.
doing therapy is different than somebody else's way of doing therapy. So ultimately, I think it comes down to just energy. And if somebody looks at either one of us and feels into our energy and is like, oh, I want to work with her, then do it. Go for it. Because, yeah, like you can have all the credentials and there might not be a good connection, or you
Right.
have one credential and there's a fantastic connection. So there is really something to just the more you stand in who you are,
Right.
the more the right people that need your particular way of helping people will show up for you too. So,
Yeah, I totally have been feeling more and more like I'm just putting myself into boxes when I do that too. And nobody
mhm.
likes boxes. So, yeah.
No, no. And no, I don't think you're in a box at all. You're so dynamic and interesting, and I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Yeah,
uh,
interesting is a good word. Totally nuts. We don't know.
yeah,
We
we don't know. Either way, it's all
Yeah,
good.
all good.
So, I know we did an interview last year, but we're going to pretend that nobody has heard that because I know there are a lot of new followers in my audience and in yours. And so, tell me just a little bit about you. Where do you want to start in sharing about Katie tonight?
Yeah, so I think where I sit right now is I'm trying to really lean into working with women in a very dynamic way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to start to focus more on working not just with women, but with people on a really holistic way to look at their healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
So combining modalities like mediumship, connecting with your loved ones and with your spirit team, which you and I both know is so important for
Mm-hmm.
people's healing journey.
Absolutely.
And just finding closure from the things that have happened in their life, I think is really big too. But also combining different modalities like Reiki, like frequency therapy, sound healing, to really work within the body as well,
Mm-hmm.
somatically, to
Yes.
kind of tackle things from lots of different angles. Um, I've been really enjoying working with women with their cycles and with their feminine energy too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's just something that I'm finding really lights me up, and didn't
Yeah.
really even know how much that was going to light me up. But yeah, and Bloom has taken a lot of my focus lately too, which is the
Mm-hmm.
collective that I'm a part of. We're located in Indiana, and myself and Charlotte Smith from Capturing Yins and Olgie's Garden, which is her newest
Yes.
venture.
Plant. Yes.
Oh, it's like the
I love
plants
it.
heaven.
Mm.
You can't see right now because I'm in my little tiny office, but my house is covered in plants like a jungle too.
Yes.
Um, but that's the vibe that we work with at the shop. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, us and Kim Thacker, who's an amazing intuitive and Reiki master and healer herself. Um, we've just been hanging out, and we had our grand opening on Saturday,
I
yesterday.
know. I was so sad to miss that. And I want to clarify. So this is Indiana, PA.
Yes.
So for those that are listening on the broader scale, there actually Indiana, PA existed before Indiana, the state. Did you know that?
Oh
So
my gosh, I never knew
yes.
that.
Yeah. So
That's
little
amazing.
fun fact.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
So I love that you're talking about the whole woman, the whole person, because, yeah, I've been an advocate for whole body and whole mind and whole spirit health from the very beginning. That's like my roots were with essential oils and natural body care and then childbirth education and then moved well, and I'd always had my master's in social work, which was the mental health side. And then, that's how I got into the past life regression, and then the mediumship was, oh, we need to deal with the spiritual side of things too. And
Right.
so I love that you're talking about that, because it's true. If we don't usually we have one area where we're having an issue at that particular time, but if we don't look at it from all angles, then we're not kind of treating, for lack of a better word, the whole person, the whole being, the whole soul, and all the aspects that it needs the assistance. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. And I totally think that there's also a niche for everybody too. And I think
mm-hmm,
that sometimes I go back and forth, and I feel like you and I have talked about this before in the past too, about wanting to have all the modalities and getting like kind of
mm-hmm,
a little bit, ahead of ourselves, just trying to add all the things, because we do have that intrinsic drive to just help people in the most holistic way that we can. But I also really love to refer people out, is my
yes,
other new favorite thing. And
mm-hmm,
I send you people
yes, all the time,
all the
which I
time.
appreciate.
Um,
Yes,
yeah, because you have a special sauce that I don't have the
mm-hmm,
recipe for, and
mm-hmm.
there's a time and a place for all the
Yes,
different varieties of us healers out there. So it's nice to have a strong community too, that I think
yeah,
that we do have in this area, where all of us have our own individual practices, and we do overlap, but we don't in
mm-hmm,
a very beautiful
yeah.
way, which is amazing.
Yeah, and even though, I recently started calling myself a medium, even though I've been seeing dead people since as far back as 4 that I can remember, but I never
Right.
wanted to call myself that because, your mediumship looks different than my
Yeah.
mediumship. So,
Right.
I send people to you because they want the way that you do mediumship readings. And so I would love to talk to you a little bit about that, because I don't think that people understand that even with the title of medium, there's many different ways that can look. So I would love to hear a little bit about your mediumship skills and how that works for you. And yeah, so fill me in.
Yeah, yeah. So my number one goal is always, I have secondary goals and tertiary goals too, but my number one goal is always to prove that there is continuity to life after death.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I like to do that with a client is to give them information that I couldn't otherwise know, um, that is from their loved one, because I think that that's a really powerful thing
Mm-hmm.
to provide somebody with, so that they understand, okay, if she's hearing, feeling, seeing, knowing this fact or description of my loved one, and they're not here anymore, then how is that taking place unless my loved one is still here with us?
Yeah.
So, my number one goal is always to help them feel that connection that still exists. But then my secondary goals are always clarity, healing, and closure.
Mm-hmm.
Those seem to be the three things that people come to me the most for. That's what they need to talk to their loved ones about. So, the way that I get the information basically just flows out of me like a conversation as I sit with the person. I might feel guided to talk about one specific area of their life, or describe a person who's in their life, or somebody who's passed. Um, and it's so different from each reading to another. There's kind of
Mm-hmm.
no rhyme or reason to that piece, but organically we tend to get to the points of all those things.
Yeah. And I think so. I have had personal readings from Katie before. We actually have one scheduled for Tuesday that I cannot wait to do.
I'm so
And
excited.
I've also done group sessions with the with my family members, and then I've also done like your big group sessions. And it is so interesting because the dynamic is very different. When you're in a gallery reading, then you are kind of throwing out some details, and then once the person raises their hand, you kind of, I know you call it kind of pulling that thread, and then more information flows to you. And so it's just so interesting because the gallery reading that I did with you, I think I was on my fifth person, and I was like, oh, it's me. And everybody there wants a reading, but so many of my people had just come through that night, but I needed that. And that's the other thing that I always trust too, whether I'm doing the reading or whether I'm receiving the reading, is that people, the beings that I most need to hear from will come through in that session. And I know that you're a big believer of that too. They might come for one reason, but then, somebody else comes through. So
yeah, it's amazing how that works. And I feel always like I do have just such a deep trust that the things that evolve in the course of our discussion are exactly what need to come up and evolve.
yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing sometimes the things that come up. I
Yeah.
almost scare myself sometimes because I'm like, wow, like that was really crazy that I knew that, or crazy that I felt
Yeah.
into that. And the one downside to my mediumship sessions is that I typically forget everything that I have said to the person
Yeah.
immediately after the session is over. So I wish I could even remember cool details more. But somebody's gonna have to start recording them or doing something like that.
Yeah.
It leaves me, but
Yeah. And that is one thing that happens. And it's kind of why I do refer some people to you, because I'm trying to have conversations with the person in front of me and then help them shift those perspectives or do the healing that they need to do. I can't go all the way into mediumship, or that happens where I call it blacking out. Like I feel like I'm almost coming out of a blackout when I'm fully deep into the mediumship piece. And obviously if it's more of a therapy session, I can't do that.
right,
So
not ideal for that.
no, it needs to be more of a back and forth. So I kind of love that you don't remember everything. And I would also assume too that that's a protection for you from spirit, so that you're not taking on stuff that isn't yours as well.
Yeah, that's exactly, I think, how it started, is just, and there are still things that I take with me, and still things that
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad to remember, and things
Mm-hmm.
that, are hard to hear and feel and see. But I think for the most part, my guides do a pretty good job of helping me clear the energy and
Mm-hmm.
all of that after a session. But that's, also why it's important to know tools and to
Yes.
have those things before you get started with mediumship, because you can just get
Mm-hmm.
yourself in a really out of whack
For
place.
sure. Yes. And I think
Yeah,
both of us end up working with people who have gotten themselves into that place, kind of not knowing. It's not that they don't know what they're doing, but just not having all of those pieces and tools in place in order to be protected, in order to be, have the energy clearing, in order to stay balanced and centered. So I would love to hear about some of your practices around that, whether it's like the sacredness, the intention, or just what you do to be in a really good place before, during, and after your sessions.
yeah. So I think the most important thing for me is that I have a really um, pretty rigid, I call it a ceremony, that gets me into the zone.
Mm.
And then I have a really rigid ceremony to get me back out of the zone
Mm.
when
Mm-hmm.
it's time to end the day. And my into the zone involves a lot of prayer, a lot of gratitude. I make my space into a sacred one if I'm not at the office, which is already kind of a very sacred place for
Mm-hmm.
me at the studio. Um, but those practices, they look different every day, but most days involve some sort of smoke cleansing, some sort of meditation, and some sort of sound, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's a frequency that I play through my Healy or a sound bowl or something. I try to engage all of my senses to help me get into
Yes.
the zone when I'm getting ready for spirit. But then, so then I have my sessions and I start each session by calling in my guides and all of that. Um, but at the end of the day, there's an energetic cleanse, which
Mm-hmm.
I almost always burn sage. I almost always utilize crystals like selenite, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of sweep my body like that. But I think the biggest thing is that I intentionally, with my mind and my energy, close the circle and
Yes.
say, we're done now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think, and I was just reading this actually, it was an Alberto Villoldo book, which I'm sure you've read some of his books, but um, he says that to not close your sacred space is truly to contaminate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love that. I like needed to hear that at that moment because I think that the whole idea is that we have these places that we go to work. And if they're not sacred, they're contaminated. And if we
Mm-hmm.
contaminate that space, then we just can't trust that the information that's coming through to us in that moment is what it needs to be.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I love that. And, somebody was asking me about this because I do mentoring and coaching, like you do too. And she's like, well, how do you do that? Because, my office is just here, like in the middle of my house. And,
Yeah.
I'm working with people all over the country, all over the world. And she's like, how do you keep them out? And I was like, oh, no, no. Like there is, and I got the vision of it at that time and I had felt it but not really solidified it. But then when you have to describe it to somebody else, you have to get more clear on it. And I was like, oh no, there's like a tunnel, almost like an energy channel or tunnel that flows between me and that person and their spirit team, my spirit team, but it doesn't go into my house space. Like it is just an energetic tunnel between us and does not contaminate my house space. Just like my house space can't come into that energetic tunnel. Like right now, it's with me and you. So
Yeah.
I'm fully locked into you. Our energies are connected. But then, yes, at the end of the session, I've taken to calling it portals. So closing any portals within and around
Yeah.
me, closing any portals within and around you, just so that there's not any, kind of beings or entities flowing between those portals.
Right. Exactly. Especially when we work from home like we do sometimes. So
Yes.
that could get
Yes.
interesting.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, and I have my selenite all over the house just because selenite is so powerful for cleansing our energy. But you're exactly right. It's the intentionality. When I say, and I do a lot of guided imagery, but when I'm saying my energy is clear, well, that's what it's doing because
Yeah.
that's the intention behind the words that I'm saying. So,
Yeah. And it's so easy too, especially for those of us who have been in this game for a while, for us to get on the phone with our husband and be juggling our keys in our bags and we're sweeping with the thing,
mhm.
but we're not really being intentional about it because we're
Mhm.
trying to get out the door and turn off all the lights. And that's not it. That doesn't
Yes.
count. Nobody knows.
Mhm.
The universe didn't watch you pick this thing up. It wasn't
Yes.
listening. So
Mhm.
you have to go back and do it with intention. It's the
Yeah.
intention that makes it a thing. Otherwise, that's a rock and
Yeah.
you're a fool.
Yes.
So that's
That's a
how that
rock and you're a
goes.
fool.
And you're
I
a fool.
love that.
No
That
rookies in
needs to
here.
be,
So
yeah, that needs to be a new like sticker that Charlotte sells at the shop. Oh, that was
oh,
fantastic. But
I'm
you're
so
right,
glad.
I really try to do this and bring this into my life and then help my clients understand that everything can be sacred.
Yeah.
Everything can be intentional. We talk about, having the cup of coffee where, in the morning I am feeling the warmth. I'm smelling the smell. I'm tasting the taste. But then I'm also standing at the window where I get my light in my eyes first thing because that's supposed to be really good for you whenever you're waking up. And, so that's the sacredness. That's the intention of starting my day in this way that then sets my whole day up for feeling better, for feeling in tune and tapped into, my spirit team and what I'm here for. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I recently, just to shift gears just a little bit, but I recently have switched from coffee to mushrooms
Mm-hmm.
and cacao. Do you do any of that in the
Yes,
morning? I'm just
I
curious.
do. I don't do a lot of it anymore. I'm a coffee lover, like through and through and through. So
Same.
I go through phases of the mushroom coffee. I only use the well, so the one mushroom coffee that I have is called mud water. So it actually has
Okay.
cacao in it, but I like cacao for ceremony. So I kind of keep it as like a little bit of a extra special thing. But yeah, I've
Right.
done the Four Sigmatic mushroom coffee before, and but man, do I love my like real deal. And I've done when my adrenals were tanked and things, I had to quit it, but now yeah, yeah, I manage my adrenals in a lot of other ways, and so I can tolerate the coffee pretty well. So, which is
Yeah.
good for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
How are
I've
you
been meaning
liking the
to pick the
mushroom?
brain.
How are you liking the mushroom coffee?
Well, it's been serving me. Charlotte actually made me some sort of concoction that I'm not really sure what's even in there, but
Oh,
she
good.
was just like, "Here's a mason jar full of things
Mm-hmm.
and bags," and I just trust her. So,
Yes.
I really actually don't know exactly what I'm drinking, but I think that there's cacao and some sort of mushrooms in there,
Yeah.
and adaptogens of other varieties.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not coffee still. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a little sad about that,
Yeah.
but I do feel better.
Yeah. And I do try to mix in like, which I need to get some dandelion root tea, which is
Oh,
a
yeah, that's a good one.
nice cleansing. And it does have that really earthy flavor to it as well. So yeah. And we were talking about this in the beginning of looking at our whole health.
Yeah,
And yeah, if coffee is not serving you, then you do need to be honest about that and reevaluate that for yourself so that you're not putting yourself in a energetic hole right out of the gate every single day. So,
right, right. I was just pouring hot anxiety down my throat at like 5 a.m.
yeah.
every day. I'm like, "Why am I
Yeah.
doing this?
Yeah.
Why?"
No. No, no
So,
more.
I had to stop. Yep. I had to cut
I'm
it out.
glad
It was too much.
I'm glad you caught yourself though, because a lot of people do that and don't even realize, how much they're damaging themselves too. So,
Right, right, totally.
so do you want to talk about the I don't know, what else do you want to talk about? The Reiki, the breath work, the moon mother?
Yeah,
What do you feel
I would
called to
love
talk
to talk
about?
about, yeah, bloom a little bit too.
Yes, absolutely.
We have some really cool things coming up there. We have a summer solstice day retreat that's coming up in June. And the date of it is escaping me. I should have put it on a post-it for myself. Um, but it's going to be a day retreat. We're going to hold it right at the studio. So in Indiana, PA,
Mhm.
um, right downtown. And we're going to do womb blessings. I'm going to do
Mm.
womb blessings for all the ladies who attend. Womb blessings are actually an attunement that attunes you to your own divine feminine
Mm.
energy. And it taps you into the four sacred archetypes of the goddess and of a woman. So it's a really, really, really powerful, beautiful ceremony that we're going to do. We're also going to make flower crowns and do some candle magic with Charlotte and just have a really nice, intentional, beautiful day to kind of celebrate that. So that's something to keep an eye out for. The next
Yeah.
fair, which the Facebook event is not even out for, but while we're talking about your lovely fair, the Indiana Body, Mind, and Spirit Fair is going to be coming up again in late October. So the event will be coming out for that soon. I think it's October 23rd off the top of my head, but it's the Sunday.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of what else.
talk more about you kind of mentioned each of the people, but so you're each offering services there, but then you're also offering classes and then like these day retreats, and you have metaphysical items and plants. What else? What else is going on?
Yeah, so we're doing some really, really fun classes on the planty side of things. Charlotte's doing a terrariums class.
Mm.
with some cute little air plants and things like that. We're going to do a broom making class. Um, we love our arts and crafts at the studio
Yes.
space. So things that are along that line are definitely going to be popular. I really, really want to do, and I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but I'm finally having the bandwidth in my schedule to hold this. I really want to do a mediumship development,
Mm-hmm.
um, mediumship practice group
Yeah.
that meets once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, just through the summer, just maybe 3 times. So, hopefully I can do that and pull that together, but some classes of the sort.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and
Excellent.
plants, crystals, smoke cleansing supplies, tarot decks. We have kind of a little bit of everything. Lots of
Wonderful.
candles. Yeah.
Yeah, and the summer solstice day retreat is June 25th. So it's the day after the expo.
Thank you.
So I was going to sign up for it, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull off an expo on the 24th and then show up and do a full day retreat the
Yeah.
next day on the
Yeah.
25th.
Right. Probably not the best expectation of yourself.
No,
We're
no.
gonna, yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
gonna
but
be a
it
good
looks,
weekend though.
yes, an amazing weekend. And I'm so glad that you're a part of it, and Kim and Charlotte again this year, because each one of you offers a different vibe, and that's exactly what we were talking about with the in the beginning, where our each of our energies is different, and so the way that we serve people is going to be different. And that's why I wanted to do these interviews as well, so that people ahead of time can learn about each one of us and get a feel for how we offer our services to the world. And so I think that's the really neat thing about having the collective, where you can send the people where they need to be. So, yeah.
Yeah. Find the flavor you
Mm-hmm.
are looking for, which is exactly that's also why I love expos like what we're doing too, is because you can walk into that and not have a good recommendation on a healer, but you just
Mm-hmm.
take a couple laps around there and you're going to feel somebody's energy. You're going to feel called to talk to them, called to learn more about them. And that'll be it. It'll be your feeling that tells you who it is you need to work with, just like you said in the
Exactly.
beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
Exactly.
great opportunity for that.
Yeah, yeah, and I know your expo is has been around a long time at this point, so you have a lot of top-notch people coming there, and I'm so excited to be offering this in Punxsutawney again, and each of us then travels different places, because it is so nice to get out into the different communities and meet different people, and have the conversations. Like, I live for expos. I love getting out and talking to people and connecting and looking them in the eye. And, that's the whole reason I do this work, is connection. And those expos give you that opportunity to meet so many people just in a day. And I don't do sessions at expos because I want to meet as many people as possible. So,
Yeah.
we might do I have people pick an oracle card at my table. And so we're talking and having that conversation and that connection, basically an oracle card reading, but we're not sitting down and only doing that. So yeah, I love that both of us are offering that to the communities. For those that aren't from this area, we're about an hour apart, which is enough space to offer expos, because you're pulling from that side of the area, and then I'm pulling from Clarion and Du Bois and all of these little small towns up this way
Right.
too. So it's neat that we have such an amazing community in these
Yeah.
tiny towns.
Yeah. Tiny towns, but that's what we're
Tiny,
here for
tiny.
too. To get out
Yes.
in them. So it's good stuff. We're really, really excited to come out that way. The last one was so much fun.
I know.
So
It
much
really
fun.
was. Yeah.
So we're
And
excited to see.
now Michael's bigger this year, so you won't
Yeah.
have to be like
On the show. He's staying
stroller
home
and
this
like,
time.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was one thing, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was so fun.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Yes. My gosh, it is a little bit late. For those that listen to this on the podcast, they're not going to understand that it's late at night. But for both of us, it's almost 9 o'clock. So I can feel both of us kind of like fading, even though we've only been talking for 30 minutes. But,
Yeah.
it's been a full day already. So, that happens. What else? Can you think of anything else that you would like to speak on or share about yourself or your journey through any of this, or, kind of what you want to share with the world at large?
I mean, I just think that this is a really big, powerful time for so many people who
Mm-hmm.
are finding themselves called towards astrology, spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, past life regression. All of these different topics are being talked about more than ever before. I was literally just in Tractor Supply tonight, in Tractor Supply
Mm-hmm.
at the checkout line, and there were books on homesteading and raising chickens, and sitting right there was a book about crystals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm like, I love it. I'm so here for it. But the
I know.
conversations are happening, and they're happening in Tractor Supply, and they're
Yes.
happening in Punxsutawney, and they're happening in
Yes.
Indiana. And I'm living for that, because there was a point in time where I first started the Body, Mind, Spirit Fair, and I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, Indiana, Pennsylvania, nobody is coming to this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, nobody's into this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Now I can't fit enough tables in one building for all the
Mm-hmm.
people who
Oh,
want
yeah.
to
To
participate. I
be
mean,
there.
it's
I know.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
my
I just
tables, yeah, it's amazing. I had 20 room for 22 this year, which was double from last year, and they sold out almost immediately. And I still get messages a couple times a week of more vendors wanting to come in, and they're all local-ish, and that is
yeah.
incredible because same thing when I moved back here in 2007, and then 2008 was when I went to Sedona and did the past life regression certification. I did not dare tell anyone what I did because it was not out there. It was not talked about. It was not accepted. Maybe in some bigger areas, but definitely not in these, small Western Pennsylvania
Yeah.
towns. And now, I mean, I put a sign in my front yard.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right?
it's kind of funny. If they're coming for me, they at least know where I live now.
Right.
But so I love seeing the openness and the truth that people are speaking about themselves and their beliefs and being authentic and open with that. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. And I think
Yeah.
you feel the same way. It's kind of like, this is who I truly am in my heart of hearts. I'm still human. I still, am always working on myself. But yeah, you can kind of take me or leave me because I am being my true authentic self in this moment. That might look different tomorrow. That might look different, a year from now. But who I am in this moment is who I am. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's powerful to claim it and to take up the space and to do all those things too. And I think the world is looking for leaders right now. It's looking for people to stand up and say, yeah, I'm a part of this too. Yeah, I like that stuff too. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's weird. And I think the more of us who can be out
Mm-hmm.
with it, I think the stronger the whole collective movement
Absolutely.
becomes. And the whole point is, like we said, we want to get out into these little teeny tiny communities. We want to find these people and be like, we love you, we are here, like
Mm-hmm.
we're here.
Yeah.
There's a million of us. Like, look at how many
Mm-hmm.
tables are set up here. Like, be a part of this group, be a part of
Yeah.
this common thread. It's unifying people,
Mm-hmm.
that I think is what, hopefully, what most of
What we're
us are here
looking.
to do.
Hopefully, yeah, and of course, it's just like any other profession. You have you have your good qualified
Yeah,
people, and then you have the people that maybe are a little bit questionable. So
yeah,
definitely do your research, do your homework, use discernment, um, and it is beautiful because I come from a place of love and healing, just like you were talking about, but also in honoring people's shadow and the darkness. That's
Yep.
what the healing is about. And, so I love that. I love being a part of your things, because I know that it's not that, I hate this phrase now too, because now it's become cliche too, but toxic positivity, it
Yeah.
is owning all aspects of myself, the dark and the light. And I know you for sure own your dark and your light, and that just gives other people around us permission to own all aspects of themselves too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the moment where I realized that personal responsibility was
Mm-hmm.
the key to health,
Yeah,
wealth, happiness, all the things. But you have to take personal responsibility for
100%.
all the things that make you you, all your light,
Mm-hmm.
all your dark, all your shadow, all the things. That's
Yep.
all you. And the minute that you take personal responsibility, you've also stepped into your power, because now it's you that's in the driver's seat. You're not just at life's whim anymore. It's not like you are victimized by the things that happen to you anymore. It's up to you to make the change,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can make that choice.
Yeah, exactly that. And, I think that personal responsibility is something that I have always strived for. And it's so interesting because, of course, there are things that are going to happen to us, that are not so great. And so
Right.
then it is looking at that as to, okay, so if this is happening for me, what do I need to do about it? Is it, better boundaries? Is it cutting somebody completely out of your life? Is it learning forgiveness? Is it learning compassion? Is it learning that there's a higher purpose to everything? It's just so layered. And yeah, I'm thankful that I get to be there for people and helping them walk their own path through those things too.
Yeah. I was just reflecting for like a split second here about seeing you talk to people about all the things that you've been through before you started our group meditation at retreat.
Yes,
I wish I got that on film.
I know. Me too. Yeah.
You were in the zone.
Yeah,
That was
I
like
know.
I want you to like, I need those words on a plaque on my wall somewhere. Or like
Yeah.
I just like need to like hear that all again, like a couple times for some reason. That was you. The way that you talk about the things that you have been through is so incredible, and you have such strength and such wisdom, and the
Mm.
things like the way that you share it. You don't come from a place of like, and you very easily could, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You don't sound like woe is me, and
Mm-hmm.
oh, and I'm ungrateful or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. You're just strong about it.
Thank you.
Um
Yeah.
and it's amazing.
Yeah. And thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I know after I said all of that, I was like, wow, I wish we had recorded that, because what, like we were talking about in the beginning, I kind of black out a little bit and just channel the information that needs to come through to that particular group. And, maybe that's the power in it too, of I say exactly what needs to be said for the people that are in front of me at that time. And
Right.
so those, 18 ladies needed to hear those exact words in that exact way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it felt so powerful. And of course, it's, you and Jesse creating that space and bringing together women who are open to those messages. And, it was, we were kind of talking about this before we started, but talking about a child dying, talking about a brother dying, is not easy. But in my life, it feels necessary. I do know that the way I view death is different than the
Yeah.
majority. I do know the way that I view my grief and my journey through grief is different than other people's. And so, it does feel important to share my story, because yeah, when we're talking about the light and the dark, I'm not saying like everything happens for a reason from a
Right.
place of
Right.
things being sunshine and unicorns. I'm saying that from a place of like some deep dark shit that I have gone through
Yeah.
in my life. And am trying my best every day to live with that sacredness and intention, and also from a place of joy and laughter and love. And that's hard. It takes consistent work and practice and tools to make that happen. So yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to even just mention that.
Yeah. And I think also too, your viewpoint, being somebody who works with the soul in past lives and all of that, how important it is how we handle our
Mm-hmm.
grief, our
Yes.
pains, our traumas in our lifetime, is because this is the stuff we didn't figure out last time that we're coming to
Correct.
you about,
Yeah.
like this is
Yeah.
the stuff that we're like, okay, we have this unresolved fear,
Yeah.
so we're putting the future yous out of
Yes.
business kind
Well,
of,
that's
but
what I joke and say. So we can either deal with it in this lifetime, or you're going to
yeah,
have to find somebody like me in your next lifetime.
I love it. I
That's
love
my
it.
little joke. But
Oh
yeah,
my God.
exactly that. We are here. Everything is happening for our souls to evolve and grow. That's the opportunity. Whether we take that or not is our choice.
Oh,
And
and it's hard.
so, yeah. And going back to the personal responsibility, if I'm taking full responsibility for myself, no matter what is happening around me, then that also means the growth and development of my soul. Now, I reach out to people like you for help on that journey. I reach out to other friends and therapists and services that are out there for help on that journey. And, that's what I'm putting in my book too, is that this hasn't been a me path. This has been a path with my family. This has been a path with the amazing people that I'm surrounded by, that I have created because I live with intentionality. I invite people into my life that stand with integrity. That's why you're in my life, because you have integrity. You are amazing at what you do, but you're also always trying to get better. And not only at what you do, but just as who you are as a person. And so those are the people that I want in my life. And so I have this amazing network that I could call upon when the very worst thing that can happen to somebody happened to us. So,
Yeah, literally.
yeah.
Yeah. And also likewise, that's why you're in my network too, is because it's, I don't want to say this from a pessimistic viewpoint, but sometimes it is. Oh, I shouldn't say it. Maybe this is a limiting belief, but it sometimes feels like it can be hard to find really good ethics in healers these days,
Mm-hmm.
just because a lot more people are getting into the field. And I don't know if ethics are being talked about the same way
Mm-hmm.
that you and I learned it.
Yes.
So, and things just get lost in the telephone game too, as
Yeah.
the everything evolves and changes, and just some of it gets lost, I guess. But it can be tough sometimes to find people who
Mm-hmm.
have good integrity and they're in it for the right reasons, and who have good qualification, just all the things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
think that is what's really beautiful about our community. And I also think that it's so refreshing to hear that people like you are teaching and coaching and mentoring, because then we can know that the next generation of people is going to have hopefully
Mm-hmm.
good ethics and integrity also.
Yeah,
Um,
and you as well. I mean, that's, I actually went to you for more coaching, because it's that, that give and take of, the way you do things is going to be different than the way that I do things. So I love learning from other people that I consider colleagues, because, your approach to mediumship was different than mine. And so I wanted to learn your practices. And I love that we talked about the ethics in it. And it's so important, and understanding boundaries and ethics and, moral code and, things like that. That is so vital. And, if you can just pick up a deck of cards and not understand the lineage of information that you're calling upon, the divine spirit helpers, the ascended masters, if you're not working within each of those frameworks, then like you said, it's just a deck of cards and you're a fool.
yeah,
So
really,
you got to put in the
really,
work and
yeah,
understand the power that you're holding in your hand, and also where to go for mentoring, where to go for coaching, and all of those things is so vital to the longevity and well-being of this field of practice. So,
Yeah, that's a really good point too.
we went off on a tangent there, but that's okay. It was obviously necessary.
I've been known to rant about ethics at the drop of a hat,
Mm-hmm.
as we
Yes.
know. So yeah, that's a good topic for me.
Yes, absolutely. So, anything else that you would like to share or that you feel called to share, maybe even just a collective message? I liked what you were saying about, the shifts that were happening and changing, but, we're kind of it's May 21st, 2023, when we're recording this. Is there anything that you would like to offer to the community that's listening?
Yeah, actually, one collective message that's really been coming through in a lot of my individual sessions for the last, I mean, I was off last week, but it was definitely the week prior. So a couple weeks now, is that a lot of people are exiting large cycles
Mm,
right now. So people are feeling like they're having massive, massive shifts in
mm-hmm,
their life right at this moment where the trajectory of their life is going into a place that they haven't seen it before. But the message that keeps coming up about, yes, that happens a lot. So, but the
mm-hmm,
message that's coming up about it is to don't forget to look at where you've come from.
mm-hmm.
Don't forget to look at where you were at the beginning of the cycle when you wished for the things that you have now at the end.
Yes.
There was one point in time where you prayed for the things that you now have. And we have to go backwards and look and remember that we at one time begged the universe to give us the happiness, the abundance,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship, the comfort, whatever it is that we have right now that we're so grateful for, that we wanted that so badly. So whatever it is that we're desiring in this moment too might just need another cycle to come
Yeah.
to fruition. Everything is possible just the same way as you had to conceive of where you are right now at one point in
Mm-hmm.
time. So um I feel like a lot of us are in a season of purging,
Mm-hmm.
getting rid of things, spring cleaning, that
Yeah.
type of vibe too, I think is heavy in the air right at this moment. I know it's usually Virgo season for me, which is in September, that I really, really get the bug. But something about
Yeah, I have
right
been
in the
on
spring between,
massive purging mode, and
I just
I've
want
done it for years. So like, there's not that much, but it just gets together quickly. The one other thing I wanted to kind of add on to that collective message was also, don't compare your beginning to somebody else's end.
to.
Because when we're talking about healing and we're talking about career or relationships, even, people can get caught up in that comparison game and thinking, selling themselves short or thinking they aren't far enough along on their path. But just remember that you are exactly where you are meant to be in this moment, whatever that looks like. And then if that doesn't feel good or comfortable, then you got to do something different.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We are here in a constant cycle of shifting, changing, learning, growing. It feels like we might go, 5 steps back, but then we might go 10 steps forward. And so just remembering to not get into that comparison game too, whenever you're thinking about your healing journey or just your life in general journey. So,
Yeah, that's so important. And I love how you said somebody's beginning to somebody else's end. And I love to tell people when I sit across the table from somebody who's brand new and getting coaching, I think a lot of times people are just intimidated at the amount of information that's out there. And I love to just look people in the eye and say, there's no difference between me and you except about 10 years and a lot of
yeah.
like reading and studying.
Yeah.
It's about like 10 years of me being in every rabbit hole known to humanity.
Yes.
You're just starting and I've just been here for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason you can't get to exactly where I am or farther if you want
Yeah,
to, with more
absolutely.
dedication, more heart into it. So yeah, I love that so much. And I think it's I get stuck there too. None of us are
Hmm.
perfect with that. I think it's
Yeah.
easy to compare ourselves to other people, but it's really powerful to be able to take a step back from that and
Yeah.
remember.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. And
Yes.
thank you so much for being part of my expo on June 24th. And thank you for letting me be a part of your expos.
Yes,
We
of
just had
course.
ours in, what was that? April?
Yeah,
Was it
April
April?
30th
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
that's
last
right.
one.
Yes, and then we'll have the next
And
one in October, which I still need to sign up for.
yes.
And then also just go visit Katie in Kim and Charlotte at Bloom Psychic Boutique in Indiana, PA, or find them on Facebook or Instagram. Everything will be listed in the show notes, and you can find me and where to find me in the show notes as well. And thank you all for watching and for listening.
Yes, thanks.